Let us begin with Rabbi Levi Duchman. Rabbi Levi Duchman, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I was scared that he wouldn't wake up on time, but he told me that he woke up from the Fajr, F-A-J-R. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I was scared to pronounce it, but he said from all the music, it's 3:30 in the morning. And I spoke to him 2.5 hours ago, so you know he didn't have a lot of sleep. But there's a big buzz, Rabbi Levi. Both rabbis are Rabbi Levi, but we're talking to you, Rabbi Levi Duchman. There's a big buzz going on in the world with the United Arab Emirates. Everybody's looking to that point of the part of the world, looking at you. We saw Bibi Netanyahu have an interview with you, called you. I understand that he wanted to reach out to the Jewish community, and he wanted to ask, and he asked specifically to speak to you. Can you please share with us what Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu discussed with you, and tell us a little bit about the Chabad of United Arab Emirates? Go ahead, Rabbi Levi Duchman.
Good morning or good evening. Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Penny, for giving this wonderful opportunity. It's quite exciting to be on and speaking to all the people, not only the people from Florida, but people from all around. Unfortunately, all of our fellows are praying now, Fajr, like he said, so they're not going to be joining our Zoom call here, but they'll watch it once later on in the day here in the United Arab Emirates. So yes, it was very interesting to have the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu's office, to reach out and to get this message that the Prime Minister would like to speak with you over Zoom. And during our call with the Prime Minister, what the Prime Minister was telling us is that yes, we have wonderful diplomatic relations now beginning between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, but he stressed on the importance of our community and having a community here within the United Arab Emirates, within the Muslim world, how important it is. And if you think about it, and I always speak to my the other shluchim within the other Arab or Muslim countries like Rabbi Banon or Rabbi Mendy Chitrik in Turkey or in other places, I tell them how the Rebbe always really pushed for Yiddishkeit to continue within the Muslim world. If you think about it, the first shliach, and this is Rabbi Levi Banon will tell us about it, was to Morocco. And when many of the Jews were leaving the Muslim countries and they were making either Aliyah or moving to Paris or to the US or to Canada, the Rebbe, on the contrary, pushed shluchim and pushed rabbis to go to the countries to build the communities. And today, it's a whole different thing. The fact that we have a strong Jewish community within the United Arab Emirates, it changes a lot within that it's not only a political, political ties between the two countries, but rather in the United Arab Emirates, we have a flourishing Jewish community. And he was just stressing on how important and how exciting this is.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Levi. I was scared you were going to get into Rabbi Levi Banon's time, but you didn't. I just have one request, and it's a good request, so I'm going to just interject. And, you know, as we were saying a prayers for all those who are ill from the pandemic, we also want to mention a special prayer for all those in the path of Hurricane Laura, that Hashem should spare them and everyone should be safe. Rabbi Levi Banon, a dear friend, and I can't wait. I told him when he makes his next or his first simcha for his bar mitzvah of his son, I'm there. He better roll out the red carpet, and especially after tonight, I'm putting you on the great stage, so you better put me on the great stage, on the grand stage over there in the Morocco with all the kings. I'll even dress up if I have to. Tell us, again, Rabbi Duchman said beautifully how, very interestingly, I didn't know this, that Morocco was the very first place, and we'll talk about that shortly. But, you know, everybody I speak to seems to be running to Morocco. It seems for the Jewish community, Sephardic and many other Jewish communities, that's the hot place to visit now. Can you please tell me what's going on there? Why is everybody running there? Why there? Why Morocco?
So Rabbi Penny and all, good evening. It is great to be with everybody. Very nice to join this famous weekly Zoom that we're hearing so much about all around the world. Rabbi Penny, let me just tell you that the red carpet is already ready. It's waiting for you. It's out for a very, very long time. Rabbi Penny has been telling me this, that he's coming for the bar mitzvah. So we're preparing it specifically that a lot of what we do today, I personally learned by Rabbi Penny as a rabbi in training. So that was, so a lot of what we do today is thanks to you, Rabbi Penny. So shout out to you and the great work that you do in South Florida, in South Broward, and also in the greater South Florida. Why do people come to Morocco? Morocco is a beautiful country with a lot of culture, a lot of colors, and a very, very strong Jewish history. And there's also the other aspect that there's also, you can go vacation in Morocco and also have a spiritual part to it, because there are rabbis all over Morocco that are buried, very, very holy rabbis that are buried in Morocco. In fact, there's a beautiful anecdote that the Rebbe once asked the president of the Jewish community in Morocco, Mr. Berdugo. During that time, it was a bit of a tough time in the late 80s for the king of Morocco, for different political reasons and different political reasons, national Moroccan issues. And the Rebbe asked to give over to the king of Morocco that he shouldn't worry because they are watching over him. And the president of the community asked the Rebbe, who's they? And the Rebbe said, they are the 500 tzaddikim that are buried in Morocco. So when you come to Morocco, there is a lot going on. It's a beautiful place, a lot of scenery, and there's also the spiritual aspect. So who can ask for better? You have both of both worlds.
Beautiful. So that leads us to the next question, Rabbi Banon. I'm down, Rabbi Levi, don't go to sleep. We're going to get to you in the next question. So as you told me today, and we just heard it from Rabbi Levi as well, is that Morocco was the very first place that the Rebbe sent an emissary just after he assumed his leadership in 1950. I can't believe it. From all the places in the world, from a little city, Eastern Parkway, in a little city in Brooklyn, New York, that was the first place where the Rebbe had his eyes on. Can you please share some more about this?
So in 1950, when the Rebbe started taking over the leadership of Chabad International, there was about 350,000 Jews in Morocco at the time. And the Rebbe decided to send his first emissary, as you heard, to the whole world, and he sent to Morocco. He sent Rabbi Lipsker, who was a Russian boy living in America, in New York at the time. He didn't speak the language. He didn't speak not Arabic, not French, but they had the common language. He had Yiddish, but he had the common language of Hebrew, and he started working in Morocco. At the time, it's very interesting because they came in and they started doing important work, because at the time there was not really organized Jewish schools during those days, and they started organizing Jewish schools, and they were going from town to town and opening different chadarim, different schools in different villages. There's actually, today we can see in reports that they were sending to the Rebbe, they have lists of different villages and different towns. I mean, they started from day one in the city of Meknes, and then they went on to different towns that were asking them to open schools. Later on in over the years, they started sending to different cities, and they started bringing different rabbis. Rabbi Matasov, Rabbi Edelman, Rabbi Raskin came in 1961, and they started putting the grounds for a network of Jewish schools. There was actually a time in the 60s when there was over 10,000 Jewish kids in the Chabad schools of Morocco. And just a little interesting anecdote, there was Rabbi Lipsker, the first rabbi to Morocco, writes in his personal journal that when the way they would do it is that they would go from town to town and open a school and open a dormitory. They would do this together with the JDC, with the American Joint Distribution. And they would open a dormitory. And the first thing that they would do, they would welcome the children, shower them, and give them new clothes and fresh clothes. He says they would usually come with jalabas. Jalabas are the Moroccan robes, the Moroccan garbs. So they would usually come with they were supposed to be, he says, white jalabas, but were black because of the dirt and because where they were coming from, the desert areas that they were coming from. So he says a story that there was once two boys that came, two brothers that arrived, one 6-year-old and one 11-year-old. And he says that the first thing they did is obviously they brought them in and they welcomed them and they showered them, they changed their clothes. And when they came out, the 6-year-old brother started crying and he was looking for his brother. So they tried showing him, this is your brother right here. But he was not comforted and he didn't believe that this was his brother. And they couldn't understand how they can console him. Until a few minutes later, there was one of the local rabbis said, I know exactly what to do. He brought the old jalaba, the old Moroccan robe that this boy was wearing before the shower, before he got cleaned up. And he put him on that robe. And then the brother was consoled and he recognized his older brother. What I'm trying to say is that there was real desolation for the Jewish community at those times in Morocco. I mean, they were living like Bedouins. They were living in little towns. And Chabad worked on doing two things. First of all, helping them out under the Rebbe's directives, helping them out spiritually, to teach them Torah and to bring them into schools, and also materially. I mean, there was a lot of work to help out the families, to feed the families. And today, what's interesting is that today we're 70 years later. And today we see the fruits of all this hard work and this selfless work. I mean, today there's, if we speak about the chief rabbi of Jerusalem, the former chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Shlomo Amar, who's an alumni of these schools, the Pinto family, the Abu family, which are big rabbinic families, rabbinic dynasties in the Moroccan community, are all alumni of these Chabad schools. And if you meet Moroccans all over the world today, French Moroccans or French Jewish Moroccans or Canadian Moroccans or in Israel, they'll all tell you that they had somewhat of a connection with Chabad and somewhat of a connection with the Rebbe. So there was a real work and a real change on the spectrum of Judaism in Morocco, thanks to the Rebbe's contribution.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Levi. I have more questions for you, but we got to get Rabbi Levi from the UAE. By the way, there are a lot of people who are asking me privately questions, and it's more than okay if we have time. I have my list of questions. As the host, I'm going to ask my questions, and then afterwards, if there's more time, we will definitely go to more questions. Rabbi Levi from the UAE, can you please tell us your story? How did a young kid from Brooklyn end up in Dubai? And how did Chabad open there? I mean, from all the places, who would think that there would be Chabad today in the UAE?
So the simple answer is you answered it in your question. Young boys, simple boys from Brooklyn end up everywhere around the world. So as you know, especially from Crown Heights. Good question. While I spent, before coming to the UAE, I actually had the privilege and the honor of spending about 3 years in Morocco, in Casablanca, together with Rabbi Levi Banon, assisting Chabad there with their youth programs and with different activities. While spending time in Morocco, we were in touch with other Jews throughout the Gulf region. So not only the United Arab Emirates, as well in Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and a few other in the region. And slowly I started making small day trips, which ended up turning into week trips, which ended up turning into month trips until we slowly helped and to establish the Jewish community here in the UAE.
Beautiful. Just a question. I mean, I know Rabbi Levi, so I know he speaks French, was the primary language in Morocco. Do you speak Arabic?
Yes, alhamdulillah, I speak Arabic, and ask me if I speak Arabic. Interesting story that happened. I was taking some Arabic courses online, and I was signing up to this quite intensive Arabic course. And in order to get into a course, it was quite an advanced level, and you had to have an interview by the headmaster. So I scheduled the interview, and the first question I get from the headmaster of this Arabic academy is Levi, are you Chabad? I'm like, wow, shuhada. I'm like, what do you mean by Chabad? So I said, yes, of course. And it was this Jewish girl actually from the West Coast, from California, that was running this Arabic academy. And this call was on a Thursday. And then I asked her, I said, well, whatever her name was, do you light Shabbat candles on Friday? She was like, well, Levi, this is my first Arabic student asking me if I light Shabbat candles on Friday. So I said, well, you're my first Arabic teacher asking me if I'm Chabad. So yes, me and as well as many other Jewish people around the world do speak Arabic, and it was interesting to find that.
How do you say we want Mashiach now in Arabic?
Nahna nabri Mashiach al-hin. Or in Morocco, you would say Daba.
Okay, very good. Very good. Let me ask you a question. Can you please now tell us, Rabbi Levi Duchman, what are the dynamics of the Jewish community of Dubai? And what changes have you made? What does Chabad add to the dynamics of the Jewish community of the United Arab Emirates?
From the establishment of the United Arab Emirates, there's always been Jews coming to the UAE. We had some Jewish doctors coming, especially for the royal family. They would always prefer and like to have Jewish doctors coming, Jewish businessmen. So there are always Jewish people coming to the UAE throughout the years. More recently, we have a lot of young families that come from all around the world. We have many Americans, Europeans, as well many Jews from Maghreb, from Morocco, from Tunisia, Sephardim, Ashkenazim. We have a good mix of Jewish people living here in the UAE. And for the past 6 years, what we've done is we've established the basic needs for what the Jewish community needs. So for example, 6 years ago, if someone would need kosher wine, kosher grape juice, they didn't have it. Now we help to make sure that kosher wine is available, kosher food is available, education for children, bringing, if someone has a baby boy, arranging a moel, a brit milah. So many of the basic needs where the Jewish people living here before we arrived would have to travel back to their home countries. Today they have that here in the United Arab Emirates available. That's
incredible. I'm really fascinated. And let the questions keep on rolling in. We're going to try and get to as many as we can. I want to speak to you, Levi Duchman, in a moment more about the royalty and a couple of other things about the community, especially in light of the news that's going on. But let's switch gears. Let's go back to Morocco. I love this. I might take a job on one of the news channels after tonight. I'm enjoying this interview. Rabbi Banon, just tell us, because there's so much rich history, as you said, in Morocco. What year did you arrive? Why you? How did you end up being the one chosen for that beautiful, unique location?
So when I got married, I went to visit I'm originally Moroccan. I was born in Morocco. And I decided that I hadn't seen my grandmother in a while and that we were going to go visit Morocco. So when we got to Morocco, it was a few years after Rabbi Raskin passed away, who was my predecessor. And wherever we were going around in Morocco, whoever we spoke to in the Jewish community was telling us that we need a young rabbi. We need a young, active and a young, vibrant rabbi to get involved. So they said either you or maybe you can speak to somebody at Chabad headquarters to send a young couple to take over the great work that Rabbi Raskin was doing. So when we came back, Rabbi Kotarski from Chabad headquarters offered us the position, and then we started working with different activities until we actually moved down. Interestingly enough, is I think I have a pretty unique story, because it's all about the fruits, right? You see a good tree when you know to appreciate the fruit. So my parents, actually, I'm Moroccan born, and my parents became Chabad back in Morocco, where they were advised by the local rabbis, by the chief rabbi, and some other rabbis that were close to their families, to get close to Chabad, and that's where it's at. That's where Judaism is, and that's where that's where they can grow in their Judaism. So today we're just the fruits of this work, and going back and doing the same exact thing that they were doing. So I think it's to me personally, it's a very, very special thing. They actually taught great messages to the community. They taught the Rebbe's messages to the community, and we try to continue that.
So I ask you again the question I asked Rabbi Duchman, Levi. What are the dynamics of, what's the Jewish community there like today, and what do you feel you add to the community? Please tell us what it's like living today with your family. How many children do you have? Can I know?
I have 5.
5, beautiful. What ages?
My oldest is 12, bar mitzvah in February, which will.
I'm there. I got it booked.
Then goes 11, 9, 7, and 5.
Can I know? So tell us what it's like raising a young Jewish family today in Morocco.
So Morocco is a very, very small but vibrant community. I ask everybody, and I challenge them when they come to Morocco, that when they get into a cab, when they get into a taxi, or when they go to a hotel, to ask a Moroccan person, a Muslim, how many Jews there are in Morocco. If I want to exaggerate, we're 3,500. If I want to be realistic, we're probably 2,500. But if you ask any Muslim on the street how many, I mean, you're going to get 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. There's even some people that are going to say 1 million. So we're very, very small, but we make a lot of noise, like in most of the Jewish communities. We have, for a small community like ours, we have 22 running, functioning synagogues, functioning shuls in Casablanca. This is just in Casablanca. Besides for the other cities, 95%, 97% of the community live in Casablanca. We have 7 kosher restaurants. Actually, this week we just inaugurated an Asian restaurant, a Chinese restaurant in Casablanca, which is very exciting. One of our students, one of my personal students, opened up this restaurant. We have 2 Jewish schools. One more religious, one less religious, but there's always places to be and places to go. There's always a bar mitzvah, a bris to go to, a wedding to attend. There's always things happening. It's a very, very, very vibrant community. This is besides for all the Jewish passerbys. There's a lot of people that come for pilgrimages. A lot of people that come just for tourism. There's about 120,000 Jews that come by a year to Morocco. So at any given time, there's 10,000 people, Jewish people in Morocco, all over Morocco. So it can get fun at times. In a Muslim, you wouldn't think that in a Muslim country, when there's a Hilula, a pilgrimage 10 hours away from Casablanca in middle of the desert, literally smack in middle of the desert. So all the highways on the way to the Hilula, you would have every police man can stop and salute you and tell you to pray for him. And then you'll have services at all the gas stations. You have Israeli buses, obviously. So there's a lot of noise. There's a lot going on. So it's very, very nice and colorful.
All right, so I have a couple of more questions. Stay tuned. Let's go shift to United Arab Emirates. Rabbi Levi Duchman, tell us. Let's go back to this buzz with this accord with Israel and the United Arab Emirates. What's the sentiments? What's the feeling? What's the feedback? What is the Jewish community feeling? And let me just preface a question. I was asked, again, one of the streaming questions, if not for the pandemic, you know, because now our statistics are all wacky, but Rosh Hashanah is coming up in less than a month. And if you have no place to celebrate it, just this is for everybody. We have over 350 people almost tuned in so far to Zoom, and who knows who's on Facebook. I run a beautiful Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot this year at the beautiful JW Turnberry in Aventura. But if it wasn't the pandemic and you were having services, Rosh Hashanah, in the UAE in your Chabad house, how many people would usually come to a regular Shabbos to a high holiday service?
So obviously our community is very excited about the new news, and it's not only interesting enough, it's not only our Jewish community, but it's the local Muslim community as well. People here are very adamant about peace and getting along and coexistence and tolerance. That is what our rulers of the UAE really push on its citizens and on its residents. So obviously everyone is very excited. On the dynamics, I've received a few calls that we used to be very distant from Israel, no direct flights. You have to either fly through Jordan or through Turkey or through other through other places. And now with things opening up, and if like the rest of the world says that other countries will open up, we will probably be from the first Jewish community around the world that we could get truck deliveries from Jerusalem to the United Arab Emirates. So if you think about it, we're only 24-hour drive from Jerusalem. So we could just fill up a truck full of kosher food and drive over, and a day later they're in Dubai with all this wonderful food. So people are really looking forward, even though we got some harsh warnings from some of the Emirati influencers that we better not claim the hummus is Israeli, and we have to we have to agree to its Arabic origins. So they said kosher restaurants are more than welcome, even though we have one already. So we already got back into the old hummus conflict. But yes, it could change a lot the dynamics for the Jewish community, as we are very close to Israel and the Jews are very happy. In reference to numbers of how many people we had, last year on Rosh Hashanah, we did actually in a hotel in downtown Dubai, and we had maybe about 150 people. The communities keep on growing. So this year, if there wouldn't be a pandemic, I don't know the answer how many people would be, but obviously it would be much more.
And Shabbos, how much is a usual Shabbos? You struggle for a minyan, or you have a minyan every Shabbos?
So we thank God we have a minyan every Shabbos. We used to struggle for a minyan. It used to be something very, very difficult, but now, thank God, we have a minyan every Shabbos, and we have a wonderful community that comes and joins in.
All right, Rabbi Duchman, we're going to stay with you, and I just want to say there's a lot of questions coming in. I'm going to try and get to all of them. Let's go to the next one. You talked about the royalty before, you and Rabbi Banon. Can you tell us, have you had any relationship? Do you have a relationship with the government, with the ruling sheikhs, with the with the royal family? Has there been, tell us a little bit about that and the history there.
So absolutely, everything we do here in the United Arab Emirates, or anyone that comes to visit, we find everything we do is with the full blessings of the government. We've had, from the day I have arrived, we've been in touch with the local authorities, with the ruling family, or all the government officials for whatever we need. And the entire time, whatever we need, we have full support from the royal family. And we're constantly in touch to ensure that we're doing everything within line and doing everything in the proper way.
That's amazing. And I just want to tell you, I'm going back to the last question. You told me there's a restaurant. I was saving it for last if there was time. But I actually was a couple of years ago in Dubai. I didn't know that you were there. I don't know if you were there full time yet. And I didn't know there was a restaurant. So now I got to come back. But my story to Dubai is actually a very, very interesting story. Let's go back to Morocco. Rabbi Levi, you still there? again, these guys, we got to give them credit. It's 3:30 in the morning. And they're both wide awake for us. So thank you so much. Tell us about your experiences with the royalty, but not only you. Has there been any connection with the royalty, perhaps from even the 1950s or 60s when Chabad first came? Did the Rebbe have any history? I think I've heard something like that. Please share with us a little glimpse into Chabad's relationship and the Jewish community's relationship with the royal family. Thank you so much.
So the royal family have a lot of respect for rabbis in general and the Jewish community at large. The Rebbe had a correspondence with the former king, meaning the present king's father. There was a correspondence between the Rebbe and him. The Rebbe used to bless him. There is a lot of connection between them. There's an interesting story that when Rabbi Raskin, my predecessor, used to do camps in different cities around Morocco. He would take children from Casablanca and from around the cities, and he would gather them in for 10 or 15 day overnight camp in different hotels or different schools in different towns around Morocco. And one year, he was doing it in a hotel where the owner of the hotel was very, very good friends with the king. And he came one Sunday, the owner of the hotel came one Sunday, and he told the staff, the head counselors of the camp, that he wants to speak to the children. So they said, for sure. So they gathered all the children, and he said, I really want to share this with you, because yesterday I was playing golf with the king. And the king asked me how my businesses are doing. I said, very, very good. And I said, actually, in one of my hotels, there's a group of Jewish children that are out for a camp. So the king asked him, really, from which organization? So he says, the king. So I told the king that it's from Lubavitch, from Chabad. So he said, the king said to me, you should know that you are very, 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 very lucky, because they have a very big rabbi in New York. Very, very, very special rabbi in New York who's a leader of the Jewish people today. And we have today very, very good relationships with the royal family. It's actually funny because last year I was invited to Washington. The ambassador to Washington, her name is Lala Jumala, Princess Jumala. She's the king's first cousin. She's the ambassador of Morocco to Washington. And there was an event that was made in honor of Morocco. And there's actually pictures of it. You can see them online. They asked us to go up and to bless the king, and we had a special blessing for the king. And the people were a little rowdy during that time, and the princess was very, 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 very hurt and offended by the fact that people weren't quiet for the blessing of the rabbis that was so special. But I actually met a lady there, and she told me that she's very close with the princess. And the princess told her, you have to come. There's going to be a lot of rabbis at this event. So there's an interesting veneration to rabbis. There's a very, very, very interesting respect for rabbis. In fact, I have a lot of princes that we're in touch with that ask us all the time to pray for them. They ask me that when I come to New York, I should pray for them on the Rebbe's tomb. And they believe it's very, very important, and it's very, very precious to them, and they understand the importance of it, which is amazing.
Thank you very much. Let's stay with you, Rabbi Banon, but this is going to be a question for you, and then I'm going to shift over to UAE, to Levi of the UAE. You know, I have friends who in 1985, I believe, were the Chabad group that were sent to Morocco. And I remember always as a kid, there were always groups of rabbinical students being sent to Morocco. I see Rabbi Fagenson, Rabbi Mendy Fagenson, give him a shout out from Sugar Land, Texas. He was in that group. And I remember hearing the stories about sometimes it got a little bit how should we say, it got a little bit rough. They had to watch themselves not getting hit, the anti-Semitism, things like that. Is it safe today living as a Jew in Morocco? Is there any fear, any anti-Semitism? What do you feel on the streets? I heard what you said about the royalty, but how about the day-to-day walking on the streets? I saw there's a picture that I don't know if we included it, but you sent me a picture of you walking beautifully with your little children in the streets. Please tell us, is there anything to fear?
So first of all, I mentioned my predecessor, Rabbi Roskin, and I want to make a shout out to his wife, Rebbetzin Roskin, that even though he passed away, she decided to come back to Morocco, and she's really contributing to the community of Morocco. And also shout out to Rabbi Edelman, who just passed away now during COVID, which was very, very sad. And his Rebbetzin, Rabbi Mrs. Edelman, is also coming back to Morocco to continue working for the Jewish community. Why do I say Rabbi Roskin? Because Rabbi Roskin used to have a line that if today you ask any Moroccan Jew who knew Rabbi Roskin, he had a famous line that he would share with everybody. I'm first going to say it in French, then I'm going to translate it. He would say, "N'aie pas peur et n'aie pas honte." Don't be afraid and don't be shy. He would say, us as Jews, we have to remember, "N'aie pas peur et n'aie pas honte." Don't be afraid and don't be shy. And he really inculcated this into the Moroccan youth. But in truth of the matter, Morocco today is a very, very, very safe place. I laugh because in my 12 years in Morocco, I probably spent 50 or 60 hours in Paris. And during those 60 or 70 hours in Paris that I spent at 4 different times for different events that I had to go to Paris for, I probably got more cursed out during those 70 hours in Paris than my whole 12 years in Morocco. And on the contrary, when I walk down the street in Morocco, there's people telling me Shabbat Shalom on Shabbos. There's people telling me Rosh Hashanah on Rosh Hashanah or Shana Tova. There's people telling me that it's so good to see Jewish people. And sometimes we'll even have the police stop and tell us that they just want to walk with us and escort us out of respect. And so it's very, very, very special. Actually, one Sukkot morning, I was walking to Shul, and sticking out, as you can imagine, in a Muslim country, walking around with my whole rabbinic Hasidic garb, like that wasn't enough. I had my lulav and esrog in my hand also walking down the street. And the governor, I didn't even realize he was driving by, the governor of Casablanca, and he stopped his car and his whole entourage of cars. And he came out and he kissed me, Chag Sameach, Shana Tova, have a great year, blessing me for the new year. So it's not as scary as it sounds. It's a very, very safe place, a very welcoming place, and Moroccans at the end of the day are very, very nice and welcoming people.
I can't wait to get there. You're making me so anxious. Tell your kid to hurry up and be bar mitzvah. Rabbi Levi Duchman, how about you? Again, United Arab Emirates, it sounds so, again, I was there. I'll tell you my story later, but I had to Google on the way there. Is it safe? And tell me about it. Any fear, any anti-Semitism have you experienced? Do I have to worry next time about my, whatever? Tell me what it's like.
And walking around the streets in the United Arab Emirates, especially this time of the year, the only thing you have to fear is the sun. It is very, very hot. Aside for that, walking around the streets, being here Jewish, openly Jewish, there's no problem at all. You feel very welcome. We actually had the privilege of welcoming a few rabbis here in the United Arab Emirates. And when we had a special visit from Rabbi Moshe Kilarski and his son, Rabbi Mendy, when they came, it was very interesting walking through DXP together with them. And as you guys know, full garb, like Levi says, the full Hasidic garb, only very welcoming. And even Rabbi Kilarski told me, he said he's been around the whole world, traveled far east, all around the US, everywhere. And in Dubai, he felt very, very safe. So that's really the way we feel. Dubai is a wonderful place. It's a safe place. we're waiting to welcome everyone here on this call to come visit us. You will feel very safe. You will feel very comfortable, and you will feel very welcomed.
How about we?
Not
Go ahead. I have questions. Zalman, you could call your brother later. How about women? Could women, do they have to feel that they have to wear whatever it's called, the jalaba, whatever Rabbi Levi described it, or could women?
So first of all, it's called muhajjab. It's covering your hair, but no, here you don't have to. You're not obliged to wear anything. Everyone could walk around however they feel comfortable. And obviously people here naturally, they walk around in a respectable way, respecting the host country, but no one is obliged to walk around in any specific way.
One of the questions, and then we'll go to more, stay with us, Rabbi Levi, the portraits behind you, do you have to, or do you just do it out of respect? Can you explain about the flag and the portraits?
Yes, so great question. Here in the United Arab Emirates, not only here, in Morocco as well, as Rabbi Levi will tell you, in all public spaces, we have pictures of the rulers or of the king of that specific country. I am currently sitting in the main lobby of our Jewish Community Center, and in the back of me, just to the center back of me, the center picture is His Highness Sheikh Zayed. He was the founder of the UAE, and on the right side of him is his two sons, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed, who is the ruler of the United Arab Emirates, and his younger brother, which is Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the crown prince of Abu Dhabi. And on the left side is Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, which is as well the prime minister of the United Arab Emirates. And on the side of him is the crown prince of Dubai, Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed.
You know, last year, I took my son for his bar mitzvah trip. We went to Jordan before Israel, and I went to visit Aaron's tomb, Moses' brother. So I was scared, to dress up to make sure I fit in. I dressed up exactly like that, and everybody was coming to me and calling me Sheikh Bini. And they were talking to me in Arabic. I didn't know, of course, what they were talking about, but that's the story. Let me ask you, Rabbi Levi.
One second, if I may add, there was somebody that once went to the Rebbe for dollars, and he said this was a senator, I believe, and he was coming back from Morocco. He was sent on a delegation to Morocco, and he came back to the Rebbe, and he said, Rebbe, wherever you go around Morocco, we see pictures of the king and pictures of the Rebbe. So this is about the pictures.
I actually have a question, but I'm sure I know the answer. But somebody just asked me, Rabbi Levi Duchman, I'm sure you have a picture of the Rebbe there as well. So just confirm for our questioner, Mr.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Not only do I have a picture of the Rebbe, the same artist which painted the pictures in the back painted a beautiful picture of the Rebbe, and I will take the opportunity to show you. It's very interesting. I'm going to move my camera not to mess it up, to make sure you can see the same artist.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me, Rabbi Levi Duchman, get settled and continue. You talked about the kosher. So just, one of the other questions that we received was that they understand, we understand that in the UAE, he claims, again, you'll verify if it's true, that you're not allowed to have wine. Is that true?
No.
Is there any ruling? And they're asking about that. And tell us in general, is there kosher slaughter there? Or do you have to import it from Israel or somewhere else? About halal, I remember when I took slaughtering, there's a lot of similarities. The people from halal used to come to me instead of buying it off the shelf because they felt it was, so tell me a little bit about kosher and all that.
When it comes to wine or alcohol in general, as it is a Muslim country, so it's not regularly available, but obviously within certain hotels or within certain shops, you do have alcohol shops where non-Muslims are able to buy. And we managed to get these local alcohol importers to import specifically kosher wine. So that's totally legal. You just go to the store. You have something called the alcohol license, special license to buy alcohol, and you could buy kosher wine or whatever other alcohol you need. When it comes to halal and kosher slaughter, it's a very interesting question. So locally here, the shchita, the slaughter, we do a local slaughtering here, local for chicken. My younger brother Mendel is a shochet, and he comes at least once a month to slaughter chickens for our community. We used to slaughter in a very small place in an emirate called Sharjah, some special chickens called Beladi chickens, local chickens. And now today we're in a very large plant where we share with the Muslim community where they slaughter for halal and we slaughter for kosher. We could slaughter thousands of chickens daily. So the slaughtering is very similar, and that there's no problem, but we have another issue that always happens, especially this time of the year. So after we slaughter kosher chicken, we soak it in water. And for those that know the rules of kashrut, the water that we soak the chicken in cannot be above a certain temperature, because then it will slightly cook the chicken. And where our slaughterhouses are, and the weather here in the United Arab Emirates is very, very hot. So there's many times we have these difficulties. So thank God we have special rabbinical advice that help us on the ground with, especially working with the halal and working this. So Rabbi Mendy Chitcher from Turkey, who always helps us with our kosher issues. And sometimes we have to buy ice to cool down the water to soak our kosher chicken. So sometimes it could be different than halal. So it's not as simple, if it would just be the slaughtering, then it's very, very identical. But the process after the kosherization is quite different.
Quick question that came up from Sivan. Hanukkah, are you able to do an outdoor menorah lighting? We know that that's one of Chabad staples in Hanukkah time to illuminate the outside. Are you able to do one?
So I am proud to say the world's largest tzedakah box, charity box, was here in the United Arab Emirates last year. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, turned into a charity box. So we're slowly educating them. We still don't have a menorah on the top, but we did have, some of you maybe saw on social media, a menorah on someone's rooftop, which you have the Burj Khalifa in the background. So slowly.
Okay, I think it's getting late, and I want to finish off with a quick story on my own at the end. So, we're a couple of weeks from Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Levi. Before I go to Rabbi Levi Banon with a closing question, it's a couple of weeks of Rosh Hashanah. Again, you're in the news. Tonight we had almost 350 people on Zoom, and who knows how many more are watching on Facebook. 3 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, the world's eyes are on the UAE. Everybody's looking to you. You're the rabbi. Can you give us maybe a nice story and a closing message and a good Rosh Hashanah wish to all our listeners and watchers? And if you need time to think, I'll go to Rabbi Banon.
Yes, go to Rabbi Banon.
Okay, Levi, sorry to stump you. Think about it. If not, just at least give us a nice little Rosh Hashanah from your part of the world. Let's go back to Morocco. We know, Rabbi Banon, Hashkacha Pratis. Nobody goes anywhere without Hashem orchestrating exactly where you are. Every move you make, where you are, at what time, is always for a given purpose. Can you tell me, and I could tell you, and I'll share you shortly my story of Dubai. It happened to me, which is an incredible story. And then you say to yourself, now I know why I'm here. Do you have a story that you asked yourself, why me? Why am I in Morocco? And then something happened as your position as a rabbi. And then all of a sudden, like now I understand why the Rebbe sent me to Morocco on Shlichus. Do you have like maybe a fascinating story to share with the audience tonight?
Okay, so first of all, I want to answer also the question of the menorah. Morocco has been having, Chabad has been having menorahs and Hanukkah events with over 1,000 people over the years. But we have managed, thank God, to do something amazing over the past 2 years, which is to put Hanukkah, our Hanukkah event, on Moroccan media and Arab media. So we have an indoor menorah, but then we have it on the Arab media. You know, they're saying in Arabic how there's Hanukkah, and they're explaining the holiday. So with our twist, you know, the Rebbe always teaches us that you have to be creative. So with our twist, we also managed to put somewhat of a menorah outdoors. A story of Hashgacha Pratis. One thing I can tell you for sure, this COVID has been very, very interesting for us, because we have a camp that we do for children with over 180 children that come to camp. These are, a lot of them are children from modest, less fortunate families, often, who, if not for our camp, would not be able to have these activities during their summer breaks, especially now during COVID, which they haven't been in school for quite some time. And parents were really pushing that the children should come together. We decided to do the camp. But the biggest challenge was that we usually bring yeshiva students. We usually bring boys and girls, counselors from France, to give us a hand and to help us out with the children. So that was going to be the hardest part. You know, who's going to be there to help us? But we had something amazing, which was our CITs, our counselors in training, that usually were campers in our camp, and they came to us and they said, you know, we're going to run the camp. We're going to be here to help you, and we're going to be here to give you a hand. This is so important because it was important for us as children, and today it's even more important for the kids. So this is very, very important and great nachas. And this is, you know, when you see the youth getting involved, you understand that it's that all the work is worth it, and the whole self-sacrifice is worth it. A story that I can think of is there was a couple that was very, very instrumental in bringing us down to Morocco. They were a young couple that were learning in Stern in New York, YU, and they later moved to Morocco. And when they saw the Rabbi Raskin passed away, and they grew up with him, so they realized that they want their children to grow up with something with this same atmosphere. So they were very, very helpful with bringing us down, and they were actually one of the initiators in bringing us down. But sadly, over the years, this was a young couple that didn't have children, and just to watch them, you know, that a couple without children and you know, trying to have children, and they were going through some tough times. And every time we would go to New York, you know, they would ask us to pray for them on the Rebbe's tomb. And one year, my wife decided that she's bringing together all the women in Casablanca and doing a big challah bake. They had a goal to have 200 women come to the challah bake, and at the end there was a beautiful turnout of 350 women making challah together for this young couple to be able to have a child. And in the year, they were answered. In the year, this couple, Esther, her name is, who we're very close with, had a set of twins. And today they have already the third child. So this is where you get to see that you're actually bringing lives into the world, and you're actually making a difference and making a change.
That's amazing.
Are we at closing remarks or not yet?
Yeah. So I was going to say, go ahead, Levi.
Okay, so I want to give a closing remark if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's
my
job.
What?
Please, let me do my job. Levi,
okay, go ahead.
Remarks and a high holiday message. Go ahead.
Okay, closing remarks and high holiday message. We have something amazing in Morocco, which is that the month of Ramadan, the king goes out and just drives out on his own around town. So usually you can't get close to the king. The king is in the palace. He's not really accessible. He's not really attainable. But during the month of Ramadan, the king will drive around the streets of Morocco by himself, sometimes with another car following him. And anyone during that time can stop and take a selfie with him. They can stop and ask him to take a selfie, or if it's at a red light, they can jump out. Or sometimes he's walking and they're able to see him. What's interesting is that when the king is coming and driving by certain streets, they put up flags. So you're able to see that you're able to see the king's route, which way he's going and where he's going to pass by. So usually on the average time, you're always busy and you're always running and busy with your different to-dos. And you usually don't stop to see the king. A few people, sometimes if you have the time and you'll wait, it could be that he's coming in 10 minutes, or it could be he's coming in an hour. But you don't know. He could be also coming in 5 hours. You don't know. So some people just stand and wait, and some people just go on to their things. But whoever by chance gets to meet the king, it's a great experience. And they get to take a selfie, and they get to spend time with him and speak to him. They get to ask for things. There's actually a Jewish boy that told the king that his father doesn't have a job, and he would like for his father to get a liquor license. And then the next week, his father got a liquor license, and today the man has a job. So there's a real interesting, that during the month of Ramadan, that the king is out and he's accessible to everybody. Why am I telling you this? Because right now we are in the month of Elul. We are in the month before Rosh Hashanah. And Chassidus, the first Chabad Rebbe, and the Rebbe used to speak about it a lot, the fact that during this month, what is special about this month to prep us for Rosh Hashanah is that the king is in the field. He's accessible. He's out. He's all over. You can stop the king and take a selfie. And not only that, but he's going to see you and smile at you and give you the time of day. During the year, he might be busy with other things, but this month is a month of opportunity. This month is a month where you're able to stop and see him. The flags are all over the place, but you got to do one thing. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Because comfort zone is just going on your to-do, going on your regular things. But when it comes to such a month, we have the opportunity, if we just go a touch out of our comfort zone, we're able to meet the king and get a selfie with the king, so that when he goes back to the palace on Rosh Hashanah, we'll have protection. And us Jews love protection. We love protection. We love to be close. So God should help us. Should help us all. Should help all the Jewish people. Should help the whole world. And I want to take this opportunity also to bless our King Mohammed VI and the whole royal family, that they should have a great year, and they should continue to be able to lead their country and to be a light upon the people. Amen.
Thank you. Amen. Rabbi Levi, outstanding. Really, tonight was something very special. And I thank you for making it that way, that special. I'm sure, by the way, the king for Ramadan, as you mentioned, the king always had a connection with Chabad, so he must have learned it from the Rebbes of Chabad, about the king in the field, Hamelech Basada. Where else would he know about going out during Ramadan? So already you see we're teaching the king certain things, and may you continue to be a light unto this nation, and hopefully all the Jews in Morocco together with the whole world will come together for the coming of Mashiach, that this year we should spend Rosh Hashanah not in quarantine, but hopefully in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. Before we go to the last story, thank you, Levi. Let's go to Levi Duchman, Rabbi Levi in the UAE. Whether it's just a quick story or just to wish everybody Shana Tova, your choice. But give us your closing thoughts.
So first of all, thank you very, very much, Rabbi Penny, for this wonderful opportunity. in having us share a small glimpse, minor glimpse onto the Jewish life in the UAE. Look forward welcoming everyone on the call. Everyone is more than welcome to come visit. Just to close off, it's what's amazing for me personally and for our community here is how the strong support that we have from the local government in ensuring that everything that the Jewish community has keeps to the standards of the UAE, which is a very, very high standard. So just a few months ago, it was interesting. We went together with a delegation of local Emiratis. They were searching where's the world's nicest mikvah, and they want to make something even nicer. So I had the merit in joining and going together. We went to Moscow. People said in Moscow, by Rabbi Lazar, you have the nicest mikvah. We went there together with the Emiratis. They went to go learn about the mikvah, and now we are in the middle of building a spectacular mikvah, something really, really nice. And it teaches us of how we have to ensure to make sure mitzvahs are done in a beautiful way. And I will finish the remarks with what our foreign minister, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed, started this year. About a week before Rosh Hashanah last year, a local friend of mine, an Emirati, asked me how to write Shana Tova, how to write a good year in English. How does it, to make sure it's spelled properly. And then a week later, the day before Rosh Hashanah, our foreign minister tweeted Shana Tova. And it was a great year for us. Yes, we had the pandemic. Yes, we had our difficult times with COVID. But if you think what the UAE accomplishes here with the normalization between Israel, them sending things to Mars, and all their other exciting things, it was a great year. So I take the blessings and I share it with all of you. Everyone have a Shana Tova, a wonderful year, happy year, healthy year. And may we continue to share good things. And thank you again, Rabbi Penny, for giving me the opportunity. And thank you, Rabbi Banon, for schlepping me along, dragging me along.
Rabbi Banon gets the credit, by the way. It's 3:30, it's 4 o'clock, and now it's 4:30 in the morning. He wasn't a willing. Rabbi Banon slept him out of bed. So thank you very much, Rabbi Levi.
For those of you that know me, the problem wasn't the time in the morning. I hope you realize that.
It was the shyness. Rabbi Levi is a very shy guy. Anyhow, but really, it's already 8:40, so I have a story. I'll share it another time. You guys were great. You guys did amazing. I don't want to take away the light. You should both have a lot of hatzlacha. Everybody give him a hand. You guys are doing great work. Keep up doing the Rebbe's work. And hopefully, truly, we will merit to be together physically soon from all corners of the world. I know people are joining. We have Rabbi Levi Duchman from Roosevelt Island there in Manhattan, and we have people from all over I saw. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I have a very big surprise for next week. I can't announce it because he told me that hopefully tomorrow he'll confirm, but I can tell you it's another fascinating discussion. Stay tuned for the announcement. Again, go to Chabad of Florida, Facebook, sign up so you'll see when the next class is and what it's going to be, or go to YouTube and subscribe. But tonight's class it's on Facebook, Chabad of Florida. You could rewatch it. I'll put it on YouTube shortly. And God willing, we'll keep on doing this to unite the Jewish people through Torah and let our study of Torah, our prayers, and our acts of kindness merit the ultimate redemption speedily in our days. Guys, thank you so much. And
thank you for the opportunity.
Shana Tova to all you, and we'll see you soon. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.